So we've gone on the channel here because obviously you guys were really excited and enjoyed the recent video on the brand new, potentially meta-defining Lubu build, and obviously Gon contacted me in game on private DMs all about it. And the best thing is, he's the one obviously who knows all about it. So we've got him on the channel now. He's going to basically go through a little bit about himself first, as you guys know, so you guys know who he is. But more importantly, this video will hopefully answer a lot of your guys' questions in regards to why he's gone for certain skills, why he's going for these rings, and even for gem choices maybe right at the end for you guys. So this can be that kind of go-to guide when it goes to the warrior cavalry. So been a pleasure, Gon. How have you been, dude?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. So first things first, everyone might not know who you are. So do you want to just kind of like introduce yourself, and then we'll go straight into obviously the good old Lubu build.
Alrighty. I am GoneWarrior of Kingdom 64. I am one of the leaders in Smash Squad 1, and I am one of our top fighters. I am top 4 in merits for our kingdom, and I am a 1 March whale. So all my spending goes into the 1 March.
And that's it, guys, because I'm gonna do a video about this. Is it better to go for 1 match and go spread it across? But as you can see here, Gon has gone all in for 1 match, right? And in result is earned over 9.2 million merits, as you guys can see there, which is kind of crazy for being a person only at 30.2 million power, right? Because a lot of players would assume to get those high merits, you're going to need to have like an account that's double your power, right? Where you see some of these absolutely insane T7 Krakens going at, right? So it's nice to see someone actually showcasing, look, if you actually just work on 1 match, you can actually go pretty far in this game. So do you want to dive into the good old Lubu? Let's talk about what everyone wants to see, right? Because obviously this is what everyone's questioning. Why are we going down the skill choices? Why are these certain rings that you like to go for? And then obviously we'll move on to maybe some extra bits at the end, like gems.
Sounds good. All right. Let's go into the skills itself first. So I've gone with weak spot, attack, and spirited pursuit. So the basis of this march is to not rely on getting crits. And here is my explanation for that. So I have the ability to have max skills, because in this march, the only skills that matter that really need to be absolutely maxed are your damage skills. Well, there's only 2 skills in this entire lineup that do damage, which is weak spot attack and spirited pursuit. So when we look at Ripper Tiger, we all know what it does. At max level, it does 320% damage with a might bonus, and it gives you 15% crit rate for 3 seconds. While that is nice, with combination of weak spot attack will give you a 30% damage increase. That 30% with Ripper Tiger will get you up to 419% damage. That's still not beating Spirited Pursuit at 430% base.
Yeah, that's what's crazy, guys. just want to jump in, and that's just crazy on its own. Carry on.
No worries. When Spirited Pursuit gets the 30%, it is 559%. That is the 30% increase. So you can see why I've gone for Spirited Pursuit. It does a lot more damage. It does have a lower activation chance, but that's where the rings come in. And now with the new unit type, mercenaries, that's going to help you out a bit too.
That does make sense. That makes sense. As soon as you said that, now I'm like, wait, even my little alarm bells are going ding as soon as you said the mercenaries there. I'm like, hey, oh, we're cooking here.
Yeah. So one of the things that everybody needs to consider when running my build is with these 2 skills, they only have a 20% activation, unlike Ripper, which has 25. And I know it's a 5% difference, but in retrospect, it's not. It's a lot more than it seems. So 5% of 20%, that's a fourth. That's a lot more percent chance of activation. So when you're running this Lubu March, it might not feel as powerful until you get Lubu 5 stars. Does he need to be 5 stars? No. But what his 5th star does is it increases Unrivaled Prowess is activating an extra normal attack by 30%. So without the expertise, this percentage right here is 70%. Once you get that to 100%, that means anytime this happens, you get an extra normal attack. And this isn't affected by double attack. So you can have upwards to 3 normal attacks on Lubu's one turn, which gives you 3 chances to activate all of these skills. That's why once you get to Lubu 5-star, this build works so well, because you have so many more chances to activate it. And you have a lot of tools at your disposal with the rest of the kit that allow you to get to that double attack state, which will move me on to the ring, Radiant Guardian. Even as a free-to-play, if you are going to be running this March, you need Radiant Guardian on Lubu. You don't have it. Your goal should be getting it to level 10, but you want it because it can give you double attack, and it also increases the activation chance of those 20% skills. It's not a lot, but something is better than nothing.
Definitely. It's good that the thing is, it's just kind of dinged with what you were saying there, and I think a lot of people might now, especially if you're a super cavalry main focused guy, kind of get where this build is, because it sounds like, for argument's sake, if you're just like, say, a low spender, a free-to-play player, and you've only got the 3-star Lubu, and you got the 3-star Guan, and say you got a 3-star Attila, you probably are going to do more consistent damage with that Ripper Tiger. However, once you hit the 5-star Lubu, and just realistically the 5-star Lubu, that's already where you want to switch to this build, because you're actually going to be gaining such more of an advantage at the 5-star level. So this is kind of like your end game build if you choose to go down it, because technically that Ripper Tiger, like you said, is you're just losing out over time because of that 5-star, which I actually think is really good and clever. And I think hopefully the guys watching this video so far have picked that up too, because it makes a lot more sense now, even to me, because obviously I understood, okay, this is doing more damage because of the spirited the spirited one, obviously doing 430%, and then your Ripper Tiger was only doing 320. Like, I remember those, and it made sense on paper, but then to how the 5-star makes so much more of a difference for this build to technically work, I think it makes it's just dinged. I think it just clicked, and I think it might have clicked with a lot of players so far. So what other rings would you recommend? Because obviously we know about that Radiant Guardian, and I think anyone knows if you're running Lubu, even Mulan, and sometimes some argue with the Hannibal, you want that Radiant Guardian for the double attack triggers. You want as much technically consistency of chances happening, right? So what other 2 rings would you go down? Because I know some people are saying you don't need to go double legendary, but obviously you've gone, I believe, for 2 legendaries with 1 epic. What rings would you go down?
Okay, so it really depends. If you're not running Radiant Guardian in this March, I wouldn't actually recommend running my build. And the reason is because if you're not running Radiant Guardian, you're probably running Nightwolf. Because the higher the might on the commander, the more damage increase to secondary strikes and normal attacks you get, because this is based on might. So the more might you have, the more this number is increased.
Makes sense.
If you're not running Radiant Guardian, you would just be running Nightwolf on loop.
Yeah. So it makes sense, obviously, with the Nightwolf. What about the 3rd ring? Does the 3rd ring actually matter? Because I know originally when we were chatting, you said you'd prefer, was it the Lord of the Eastern Kingdoms, or I think that's what it's named.
The Eastern
Heavens, that's it. Yeah. Is there a specific reason that, because I know I went into a little bit of detail on it, because obviously you're increasing the normal attack damage from my point of view, and then obviously the main stat there saying commander's damage, you're actually increasing your Lubus too. Is that the main reason you're going for it, or is there other reasons as well?
Well, one of the main reasons why the main reason I didn't go for this at first was obviously cost. It's a very expensive ring just to get.
Yeah.
Like, it's basically, getting this ring is like getting the ring I got, which is the Scorching Flame, and then getting this like almost to level 10. That's how much it costs.
Yeah.
In terms of like coins. So that was the reason I didn't go for it. Plus, I'm going to be using this ring in my second march when I get Saladin.
Okay.
The main reason I like this ring, if you are able to get it, is because not Lubu, Guan Yu and Attila don't have any damage skills in my lineup. They don't do any damage. They only do normal attacks. And Guan Yu has a very high crit chance, so he actually does crit normal attacks, and so does Lubu. So whenever you're doing a normal attack, if it crits, well, this ring's just going to amplify that crit.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. So would you say then, basically for most players, and this is probably because I know a lot of people are going to be probably already typing in the comments section already, because you know what YouTube's like. Obviously, we can't afford all these 4K rings. What about the purple rings? Because I was going to say the Ring of the Bear and obviously the Ring of the Lion are easy two choices that you could be going for replacements, right? And I'm assuming that is right, and you wouldn't realistically need to go much further, right? Because you would have had your Radiant Guardian, say, on the Lubu, then you got your Ring of the Nightwolf on the Guan Yu, and now you can choose Ring of the Lion, Ring of the Bear, whatever you might have unlocked on your account to fulfill that third slot on Attila. Or would you actually prefer a little bit of sustainability, because you could go even for something like the Ring of the Falcon just to give you that little bit of sustain too?
Yeah. So I've thought about this a lot, and one of the things that is a little bit different to this game compared to other games is these commanders have a class, and they're very, very good at their class. And if you try to give them something outside of their class, yes, it will give you similar results to what you want, but it's not going to be optimizing the commander. So the Lubu March, no matter which way you run it, is a very high damage, very squishy march. So by adding things that give you defense, yes, you might last a little bit longer, but it's not much when you compare it to giving something that gives damage. Your damage is just gonna, basically you're gonna go out swinging with a rocket launcher versus swinging with a bat.
Yeah.
You want to go for the rocket launcher.
Yeah, if you're going down, you want to go down fighting, right? Basically, that's the best way to put it. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense then. So basically, just go for the bear or the lion, right? Because they're going to be your only other two damage options that you've got for that third slot. Then, okay, then I think that answers. Hopefully, that answers you guys' questions. I know what you guys like in the comments. You ask these type of questions, so I'm hoping I'm like pinning these onto GoneWarrior here, so you can give you guys the answers you're looking for. So let's move on, because I think the rings, I think we've got covered. Unless you want to talk about anything else specifically to do with those rings.
There is one thing specific to Guan Yu specifically.
Yeah.
Even for the free to plays, if you are able to get Radiant Guardian and you want to run two epics, you're going to be running the Nightwolf. And I personally, as my recommendation, I like the bear because I like the more might damage. You can also still go Ring of Lion. Perfectly fine. I just prefer the might damage over the troop defense. The Ring of the Nightwolf needs to be on Guan Yu once he's 3 stars. If he's not 3 stars, it's not as effective, but it's still very effective. And we'll get into that when we talk about Guan Yu and his skill choices right now. So, when we talk about Guan Yu, I obviously don't have him 5 stars. I got a little upgrade because there was an event recently, so he's got 3 more ticks. But my recommendation is basically just 3 stars. His 5-star is all right, and it still increases, but it's not as good as it needs to be. But this 3-star, when running my build, you need. If you don't have it, it's not going to work nearly as well. And this is why. So you're running the Ring of Nightwolf. As I stated before, the Ring of Nightwolf increases all heroes' normal attacks and secondary strikes skills by 12% at my current level with a might bonus. So the more might the commander has, the more damage increase it is. So, with that in mind, Guan Yu's 3-star gives him an extra 60 might whenever this signature skill activates. So every time, it's basically every 3 seconds, he gets this 60 might. and it lasts the entire time. So he always has an extra 60 might once he gets 3 stars. So currently he's at 458. Well, once you get him 3 stars, he's at a base of 510.
Yeah,
now, Let's talk about the skills. Berserker. What does Berserker do? Berserker increases your might whenever you do a critical strike, normal attack, and it increases it by 160 at max. That means whenever this goes off, which goes off about 90% of the battle, it is up 90% of the time during the battle. So it's a very, very high uptime. And on top of that, it also has a might bonus. So it also scales with the commander's might. So let's go with the max of 160. Well, if you add the 60 to this, he's at 510. Now he's shot up to 670 might almost continuously throughout the battle. Lubu only has 567 for me. So you see why I chose to put Ring of Nightwolf on Guan Yu. Because of the skill Berserker, it increases it so much that it just does so much more for the Ring of Nightwolf.
That makes sense. See, this is why we asked, guys, and this is why we're breaking it step by step for you guys, and you understanding the reasoning. We're kind of trying to construct this video the way we have, where we've talked about Lubu, we've talked about the rings, and kind of emphasize the reasoning about the Nightwolf, and now leading into the Guan Yu, because a lot of you guys were asking about that. Why is he going down this skill choice and not down what the other good Guan Yu skill is, what most people go for? Because you got Berserk and the, let me go, is it Fatal Blow? That's it, Fatal Blow. So that's the two, not the one that they normally go for, but it makes sense when you are trying to, and this is what I thought you were trying to do, where you're tunneling so much technically bonuses on like your Guan Yu, and that's actually pumping up the amount of damage that Lubu's doing because of that Nightwolf proc, right? Because you're actually increasing that proc from that Nightwolf. So absolutely love it. Honestly, I really like this build. I think this build is going to be top tier. Honestly, I can't wait to use it myself, right? So let's move on. I think a lot of people understand now with the Guan Yu on the reasoning why we're doing that, because of how much might you're gaining, and that might is going perfectly with the Nightwolf. So that leaves Attila, right? And I think Attila is a little bit more straightforward when it comes to the choices you have to go for this, because even anyone who's been playing warrior archers have been running, hopefully, their Attila or Rani pretty much identical when it comes to these skill choices. But I'll hand it over to you just so you can explain it, so for any of the new kids that don't understand the power of having like warriors him and CI at the end.
Yep. So to get started, I do have a 5-star Attila now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I couldn't get a 5-star for last ME. I was pretty sad about that, but it is what it is. You don't need Attila 5-star. His 5-star is very good, though. So for anyone that's able to get it, get it. It amplifies your Lubu by quite a bit. But 3 stars is pretty much where you want to be at, because you want to increase the trigger chance of his signature skill, just so, which is right down here. This trigger chance, you want to increase that, because this will give all of your heroes the double attack state, and it increases your might, commander's might by 35%, and just gives him straight might. But you want that because, well, if Lubu is in a consistent state of double attack, he's always running multiple normal attacks, which means he's firing off his skill, a more likely chance to fire off his skills. Mm-hmm. And it also helps with Guan Yu in getting those normal crit attacks, so that this skill always activates as well. So that's why you want to get him to 3 stars. For Warriors Him and Critical Insight, as you can see, I have Warriors Him now 5 stars. So when you're upgrading your skills, I recommend doing Warriors Him first to 4, Critical Insight to 4, and then going back to Warriors Him in 5. Obviously, if you already have your Lubu skills at max. But this has a 30% chance of activation, and it increases your next hero. That is very, very important, because if Attila isn't at the end, this Warrior Him won't be applied to Lubu, so he has to be 3rd in the slot when you're running Warriors Him, because if he's not, Lubu's not getting that extra 125 might. So that's just going to hinder your entire march, because, yeah, it would be nice to give that to Guan Yu, but you want to increase the damage of the commander that's, well, doing the damage. And in this March, Lubu does the damage. And then same thing with critical insight. It's pretty basic. It just increases your crit chance and reduces the enemy mites. It's just a fantastic skill. Works really well with getting you crits. All around, if you're running Attila, even in the Mulan March, I still recommend doing critical insight and Warriors Him if he's in the 3rd slot.
Yeah, definitely. This is honestly a staple, guys, because of that. Because I've explained this quite a few times on my videos with Warriors Him. It is so important if you've got a hero with Warriors Him on, you are placing them correctly, because that slot, if you, for example, have Attila in the 2nd slot, and this is where people are messing up, you could have Attila in slot 2 on your formation, and if you do, that means Guan Yu is in slot 3, and he's going to be the next hero, so that's where you're going to be losing out, and you don't want that to happen. So if you're running Attila and you are doing Warriors Him and CI, always make sure he's 3rd in your slot. This obviously applies a quickly tip and trick for everyone else. For Rani runs the exact same thing, Warriors Him and CI. So if you're going to do that, make sure she is on that 3rd slot for the exact same reasons as we've just kind of stated. So that honestly, it gives you guys hopefully so far everything, which is kind of like the master blueprint for this match, why it's more tailored towards the end game when you've had that 5-star Lubu. So even if you're a free-to-play player, you've got that 3-star Lubu maybe through your wheels that you've been working through. Now you're going to be technically saved up those universals to get him 5-starred, right? And that's kind of what you're going to be looking forward to, because you know you can run this build, right? So for everyone else, just to kind of make this video a little, icing on the cake, should we just talk about the gems for gear? Because I think gems is kind of the last only thing that a lot of people do kind of get tripped up about. They might not understand what's the main stat priority, what you want to go for on, their marches. So let's just talk about a couple of the gems that you've got on your march, and then hopefully that should help the general public basically know what direction they want to go for.
Yep. So starting off with a helmet. So you either got, my recommendations are either troop capacity or health. Those are your priorities. Health and troop capacity. They give you the most bang for your buck. I like troop capacity because more often than not, I'm finding myself in situations where I need more troops to stay alive longer, because this march is very squishy. So it does lose troops fast, and it never regains them. So I like to have the troop capacity because it just allows me to stay on the field just that little bit longer, where I can possibly get a Spirited Pursuit to pop and just obliterate somebody. So for the helmets, that's what I recommend. For your gloves, might, nothing else. On Lubu, might. Same thing with Guan Yu, might. Just simple, might. Don't worry about it. Now, for the chest, you have your tactics. It is going to be your secondary strike gems for Lubu only. The other 2 commanders will get normal attack, because they don't do any skills that do secondary strike damage. They only do normal attacks. So you don't want to put secondary strike damage on them, because they're not doing it. So you want to make sure you're focusing your gems where they need to be, and make sure they're on the correct commanders. Because I've seen a lot of people where they'll have active skill damage on, even though I have this red gem, I don't have an active skill on any of my commanders that does damage. So why would I put it on them? It's just going to do nothing. So make sure, no matter the march, you're paying attention to what type of skills they do, whether it be secondary strike, active, passive, or turn-based. And the boots, pretty simple. Follow the same thing. Troop capacity, health, might, and secondary strike.
Easy, guys. Honestly, it's that easy. The best way I would just kind of, I don't know, make it a little bit simple for people if you guys want a little easy blueprint. On that slot 1, right, you've got to think, you're going to have 3 commanders, right? So 3 different commanders are going to have a helmet. And if you want to, you're going to have either a 1-2 split or a 2-1 split, meaning you're going to have 2 commanders with hero capacity, one of them with the health, or the vice versa. You can have 2 with health and then 1 with hero capacity. So honestly, you can't go wrong if you're just putting evil ore on your commanders. When it comes to your main stat, it's going to be might. Just simply might. It's just easy as pie because you can't go wrong with just adding more might to your mat, because that's what all the damage is basically coming out from. And then finishing it up, as he said, the secondary strike skill damage is exclusive to the Lubu. So just remember that secondary strike skill damage exclusive to that Lubu. But the Guan Yu and the Attila, normal attack damage, because they're not going to be doing anything else. They're just going to be hitting you with normal attack. So give them that normal attack boost and you're good as golden. And if you're wondering about the boots, it is basically the same thing. What I've just said, look at it. You have 1 of each of those 3 different types of gems. So you just need to put 1 of those in, right? So hopefully we've answered all of their questions in this video. I want to say thank you straight away, Gon, because it's been a really fun video, and honestly we've given so much information, and hopefully people understand a little bit more now why you're running the build this way. And especially now, even at me learning that this is more going for the 5-star Lubu build, and if you got more of a 3-star build, you might just want to still consider running Ripper Tiger for now until you get to this stage, right? So I want to say a big thank you for that, man.
No worries.
So with that, anything else you want to say before we close off?
Yeah, one last thing for this March. It's not reliant on crits. So if you get a crit, they're going to explode.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people, you know, even myself kind of tunneled into, right? You think it's a crit-based match. It needs crit. And that's kind of a little of a trap that you fall into, right? Because maybe having too much is just not going to give you all of the benefit, right? So once again, I'll say thank you, dude, for coming on, showing all of the skills, explaining all the numbers, and why he's running basically as much might as possible on like the Guan Yu to empower that Lubu even further through even the ring choices that he's gone down. And then we've even explained the gem. So if you guys enjoyed the video, you know what to do. Smash a like, comment, and subscribe. If you enjoy these type of videos where I'm getting different people in the community onto the channel explaining their favorite builds or even just a bit about their accounts, let me know and I can keep bringing more of these on. So until the next one, stay safe, guys. Stay sneaky. Peace out.